This video will walk through Gallus Golf's featured news module. So as always, we're going to take a look at the user experience first, and then we're going to take a look at the admin dashboard setup process. So if you're just looking for how to set up a news item, you might want to skip a little bit ahead in this video. So here we are in a Gallus Golf mobile app. We see a number of different buttons, but I want to draw your attention to the one towards the top in the most prominent position, this midweek announcements. This button is really, if we're looking analytics wise, the most likely button to be tapped by a user just because it's in the middle of the screen towards the top of all the content. We call this a featured news item. This is meant to be a place for announcements or any upcoming events, or even if you're just telling people how the course conditions are for that particular day. It's a really great resource to use in a Gallus Golf mobile app to communicate information. So if I tap into this, it's going to show me the actual news item. Now, news items are essentially three different components. The header image at the top, the title, and then finally the body content section down at the bottom. Now you'll notice the body content is the largest piece of information in a news item. This is where you can have some flexibility as to how it's designed and add in different elements. So for example, you can have like a bulleted list, you can have titles, you can also do separator lines, and then you can even like insert imagery within the middle of it and make it just look really, really nice for your end users and be super informative as well. News items can also be viewed via a button on the home screen. So for instance, like I have a news button on this home screen right here. This will actually take me to a landing page that shows me all of the previous news items, including that midweek announcements one, which is the most recent news item that's been created. But I can tap into any one of these and it's going to take me to that particular news item. And as an end user, I can check it out and hit back if I want to get back to the list. I can also add this via the side menu of my app as well. If I just tap that three lines at the top left, then it can be accessible in here too. So there's all sorts of options for how you can display these. And you can, of course, direct users to them via like a push notification or a pop-up or a couple other locations within the app as well, like pages. So that's the user experience, but you're probably wondering, how would I go about setting one of these up? So here we are in the Gallus Admin Dashboard, just manager.gallusgolf.com. I've got all my modules here, but we're talking about featured news. So I'm going to click on this featured news tile. And also, by the way, you can always hit customize app on the left and go to news if you want to get there that way. Either one takes you to the same spot. So this is going to show me all of the news items that I have created once it takes a second to load. And I can go into any one, I can edit it. I can also, if I want to like full on delete one of these news items, I can hit the box and then that gives me a trash can at the top right. So you could mass delete them if you're looking for that kind of functionality. But I will tell you, it's actually in your best interest to play with the expiration date because that will keep your news item in this listing page, but it won't display it to users. So let me show you what I mean. So like if I want to create a news item, I'm going to hit create in the top right. That's going to give me a preview on the right-hand side that's going to change as I make adjustments. So like if I adjust my image, you'll notice that there's a bunch of stock imagery in here. Or if you want to upload one, you can click upload and that'll bring up the file picker on your computer. We're typically looking for either a JPEG or a PNG file, and we want it to be a landscape image for this one. In fact, we will, if you try to upload like a portrait image, we're going to cut it according to the width. So it'll be the same width, but we'll cut the top and bottom. So I can put in something. So maybe like we're going to do like a course conditions post. So this image looks great to me. I'll say course conditions. Maybe I'll put in today's date, which happens to be May 17th. And now I can go down to the body section. Now, this is a box where you can type in text, of course, but there's also all these options at the top. We call this the simple editor. It's meant to have some functionality according to what you're looking for. So, like for instance, maybe I want to come in and I say cart path only holes, but then I also want to like list them out. So maybe I'm going to make cart path only holes into a header. So I want the text to be a little bit bigger. And then down below, I actually want to do a bulleted list. So I can hit unordered list there, and that's going to give me bullets. So I can say like hole 8, hole 12, so on and so forth. And then if I hit enter twice, that gets me back to my normal text. And then if we want to talk about, for instance, like our food and beverage hours, then you can say whatever, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then if maybe you want to put in a little bit of an imagery there, just to emphasize that. So once again, I can hit this image tile at the top, and I can either drag and drop an image, or I can choose from some stock photography. So maybe we want to just do this one. That should work. And then you'll notice this one is slightly tighter within the page, but this section actually, you can upload portrait images if you want, and we're not going to crop them. We won't crop your image no matter what, but we will match the width. So if it's a portrait image, it's going to be pretty tall. You just want to be checking this preview as you're going. So there's a number of different options. One other option that I just want to highlight really quickly is the link functionality. So you can say something like tap here to book your tea time, and then you can highlight it. And when you hit this link button, it's going to ask you what the link should be. Now, we're asking for a URL here, but I'll let you in on a little secret. You can actually make this link either a URL, email link, or a telephone number link. So if I wanted it to be a URL, I could say, HTTPS. I'm just going to put our website here, but you would put your booking engine in this case, of course, because it's a tap here to book your tea time. But then maybe I also want to say tap here to call the pro shop. So I'll highlight that, and I will say TEL colon, and then I'll give you my number. So when the user taps on that, it will bring up the dialer on their phone, and they can give you a call. You can also say tap here to email us. And in this case, we would highlight it, same thing, click the link, and in this case, we would say mail to with a colon, and then the email address. So I'll say like support@gallusgolf.com. And then when they tap that, that will bring up the default email service that they have on their phone, and they'll be able to compose an email to you right there. Makes it super easy. Just a couple of taps, and then they're getting that information to you. So you can look through all these different options. There's all sorts of ones, but those are just a couple examples that are available to you. And then I want to highlight two more things on this screen. One, the date range. The date range controls when this news item appears and disappears to your users. So you have to choose an active on date because the news item has to be active at some point. It has to start sometime. So the active on date is the first day that it will appear to users. So for instance, May 17th, it would display on that date. And optionally, you can add an expiration date. If you have like a timely news item that you're creating, we always recommend that you add an expiration date just because it'll keep your information in your app fresh. Like if something's old and it doesn't really apply anymore, It's best to just hide it from users because otherwise it's just noise and it might distract them from the things you actually want them to take a look at. So you can hit date. This one, it's like a course conditions update. So I'm going to say like I want this to disappear on the 18th because it's not going to apply tomorrow. But you can do it however far in advance that you want, and then that will make it disappear. The other option, of course, is you can just leave it as it never expires, and that will just leave it in your app. It's totally fine too. Different strategy for that. Finally, this feature toggle is what controls that news item that appears at the top of your app. So this will be the most recent news item that has the feature toggle enabled that's still live. A little bit of logic there. So basically, like if I have this one created for course conditions and I have it active today, then it will appear at the top of my app's home screen. Tomorrow, nothing will appear unless I create a newer featured news item because it won't backdate to the previous featured news item. It'll just do the most recent one if it's live, if that makes sense. So, if you need any help with that logic, or if you need any help with any of this, in fact, you can reach out to us at support@gallusgolf.com. You can also give us a ring at 888-426-8124 extension 2. Or you probably are watching this video on our online knowledge base, which is, of course, available 24/7 at support.gallusgolf.com. Hopefully, this helps you use news items. We think it's a great feature, and we're excited to see how you use it. So, thanks so much for your time, and hope you have a great rest of your day.